Okay, so here is section 2.4, parallel and perpendicular lines. Here's some things about parallel lines and perpendicular lines that we want to know. So the first one is to remember that vertical lines are parallel to each other. Horizontal lines are parallel to each other. And parallel lines have equal slopes. Now the reason why they have vertical lines separate from all the other ones is because vertical lines have no slope. So they had to tell you that vertical lines are parallel. So parallel lines have equal slopes. That's how you know they're parallel. Since vertical lines do not have a slope, the theorem vertical lines are parallel is something we can just accept as true. Perpendicular lines. Again, because vertical lines have no slope, they make a statement here so that you understand that all vertical lines are perpendicular to horizontal lines. Because to determine if two lines are perpendicular, two lines are perpendicular if and only if the product of their slopes is -1. A lot of times you also know it as the negative reciprocal of each other. So for example, you might have the slope of one line is the negative reciprocal of the other one. This is another way to look at it. If I multiply these two things together, I'll get -1. So it means the same thing. Negative reciprocals. So it depends on how you look at it. So we're going to be looking at parallel lines and perpendicular lines, determining when they are parallel and perpendicular and how to figure that out. And we're also going to learn how to write equations of lines again. So here's a little refresher. To write the equation of a line, we need to know a point and a slope. And then we can use the point-slope formula to create our equation. Okay, and I'm going to show you some examples of this. Here we go. So here's some information. I have these points. I got these lines. I don't know if any of them are parallel or perpendicular or anything like that. But we're going to look at the work and see what we can do. Part 1. Are lines L and M parallel? Are these two lines parallel? If they're parallel, then they must have equal slopes. So I need to find the slope of each of these lines. Okay? So I'll do it on this paper right here. So what is the slope of line L? Well, it's the change in the y over the change in the x. Here's 2 points on line L. Take the y values, their change, -3, -2. Since I started here, and the 2 minus the -2. So then I can work this out, and I'm going to get a -5/4. You can also do rise over run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, backwards, -5/4. What is the slope of line M? Well, change in y over the change in x. M is right here. Here's my 2 points. -2 minus 2, 4 minus 1. This gives me -4/3. And so what do I notice? These are not the same slopes. So no, they are not parallel because the slopes are not equal. So when you see someone says justify your answer, you need to show your work and explain your answer. Why? That's what that means. Which line is line N perpendicular to? Here's line N. Is it perpendicular to a line? Well, the only options I would have for being perpendicular would be either line M or line L. Since I found the slope of line L and M, all I have to do now is find the slope of line N. What's the change in y over the change in x for that one? I have these 2 points on the line. So I can start here, -2 minus 2. -4 minus 1. Oops, sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. That's -4 over -5, which is a positive 4/5. Well, I know it's not that one. If I take the negative reciprocal of this, in other words, flip it over and change the sign, I get that one right there. If I multiply these two numbers together, -5/4 times 4/5, all these reduce out, become 1s, and I get -1. So, line in, and here's how we write it. So in, and then an upside down capital T is perpendicular to line L. Because it's right here. So because of that, their product is -1. Write an equation of a parallel line and a perpendicular line to this line and go to that point. So I want a line parallel to this one that goes to that point, and a line perpendicular to this one that goes to that point. So 2 things. So the line is y equals -3, x plus 2. Our point is -3, 4. Remember, we need a point and a slope, so we're going to need to find slopes. What is the slope of this line? Is -3. Okay, we're going to use the equation. So for the parallel, our line has the same slope. So our slope is going to be -3. Our point is -3/4. Let's plug into that formula. So y minus 4 is -3 times x minus a -3. Clean this up a little bit. And you can distribute, and you can add a 4. So y is -3x minus 5. What if it's perpendicular? Then my slope is going to be the negative reciprocal of this. So flip it over and change the sign. That's going to be a positive 1/3. The point is still this. And then plug into your formula. Distribute that. Add a 4. 1/3 x plus 5. And that's how you would do those. Okay, that's the end of that lesson. We'll do more problems together in class.